Morning, everyone. We can find our mindful bodies. We can rest our hands wherever we find comfort. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out, deep breath in, deep breath out. And just rest for a moment. Notice how you feel. And listen for the sound of the bell. Open your eyes when you're ready. Okay, so today we have a longer story, so I'm not going to take too much of your time up front. But I just want you to think about a time when you were angry. Was there ever a time where you got really, really mad? It happens. It happens to all of us. It even happens to some people that we think are always super peaceful and kind and loving. I get mad. I definitely get mad. You can ask the people that are closest to me and they know I get mad. I've been working on it all my life to make sure I don't do things when I'm mad that I regret later, but it's not easy. Anger is an emotion we all feel, and we feel it, I think, on purpose. We're supposed to feel anger, but it's what we do with that anger that really matters. It's not easy to learn how to take that anger and make change, make a difference. But I do think it's possible. It's not possible right away. It takes steps. It takes time. It takes practice. So we're going to read this story together called Grandfather Gandhi. Maybe you know who Gandhi is, maybe you don't, and that's okay. But it's a historical figure. It's very important. And I want you to think about what it would be like to be the grandson or granddaughter of someone super important that the whole world knows about and the whole world looks to be a messenger of peace. Think about what that would be like to be in those footsteps, and enjoy the story. Today's book is Grandfather Gandhi, written by Aaron Gandhi and Bethany Hedges, illustrated by Evan Turk. We arrived at Sevagram, Grandfather's service village, dusty and dirty. Father insisted we be taken straight to Grandfather's hut. Babuji sat serenely on the floor. I hung back, afraid to be in his presence. But Ella took my hand and we rushed to him. We bent to touch his feet, a sign of respect. Grandfather gathered us to him in a big hug. He smelled of peanut oil. Aaron walked the entire way from the Wadra station, Father said. Grandfather stood and smiled his toothless grin. That walk is a test of character. I am impressed. My heart swelled as big as a balloon. I had made Grandfather proud. That evening I floated to dinner. The tin bowls and utensils we used clanged, making a funny-sounding music. I ate spoonful after spoonful of boiled pumpkin. It was mushy and bland. I didn't like it, but what I liked less was sharing Grandfather. Sevagram was filled with people. 350 followers lived here. For the rest of the night, even as I washed and readied myself for bed, my dinner sat like a lump in my stomach. The Gandhi name was much to live up to. I'd passed my first test, but there would be others. What if I failed? Mother ushered Ella and me to bed. The air was so thick and hot, we slept under the stars to keep cool. I tossed and turned, wondering what the next day would bring. Finally, I fell asleep, after even the earth seemed to quiet. The next day, everyone awoke at 4 a.m. With the dark of early morning wrapped around us, we prayed. Silence filled the air. Everyone was still, but I was fidgety. The peace of prayer felt far away. I was glad that when the sky turned the deep orange of a tangerine, it was time for chores. Ella headed off with Mother to wash vegetables. Father went with his team to clean the toilet buckets that needed to be emptied, washed, and put back for use. My cousin Karanu and I went off to weed the garden, and Grandfather, he worked too, sweeping the floors of the mud huts. After chores, it was time for lessons. I met Banasalika, my tutor. We have much work to do, he said, upon meeting me. Someone, maybe even grandfather, must have told him I didn't speak Gujarati well. I stared at my sandaled feet. At home, I spent my study time practicing John Wayne's swagger, but here at Sevagram, there'd be no movies. There wasn't even electricity. No one knew who John Wayne was. I tried to get the older kids to play bank robbers and sheriff, but the only game anyone was interested in was soccer, which ended up being okay. I was good at soccer. Better than I was at Gujarati. That first week went by in a blur. I saw grandfather many times, but for most of the day, he worked in his hut. Whenever I'd get a chance, I'd run a stick along the fence post outside, waiting for some alone time with the Mahatma. But I was always shooed away. Idleness was not allowed. Early in our second week, grandfather found me. I didn't have to go looking for him. Will you walk with me? He asked. There was always some aide, official, or follower around, but this morning there was no one. Lucky me. I set off after grandfather. His stride was quick, and each time he raised his walking stick, he asked me a question. He asked about my older sister, Sita, about how Ella was behaving, and about life in South Africa and the cruelty that came with being separated by race. Eventually, grandfather asked about me. How are you finding life here at Sevagram? The other kids tease me. My tutor thinks I'm useless, I blurted out as the path before us turned. I try hard, but it's not enough. I stopped short of saying that I didn't feel like a Gandhi, that peace and stillness did not come easily to me. Even Gujarati didn't come easily to me. Grandfather listened, and when I finished, he wiped his spectacles on his dhoti and put them back on and looked me in the eye. Give it time, Arun. You will adjust and go on to good things. I have faith. He said no more. We walked on. It wasn't long before an aide found us and escorted grandfather away. I should have known. There were more important things than me. The rest of the day passed disappointingly. My pencil nub shrank to almost nothing. But since we took a vow not to waste, I couldn't throw the pencil away. I held it, squishing my fingers. My hand cramped. Stupid pencil. After lessons with the sun high overhead, I was glad to head to the soccer field. I wanted to forget about the ashram rules, forget about being a Gandhi. We played hard as if the match really mattered. I was about to make a goal when Suman, an older boy, shoved me. His feet stole the ball as I lurched forward and fell face down in the dirt. Blood trickled from my lip. It tasted like 10. I snatched a rock and leaped up. You did that on purpose, I shouted, didn't you? Kanu stepped forward. It was an accident, Arun, my cousin said. Calm down. But I didn't want to calm down. I wanted to throw the rock, to hit Suman, like he hit me. Everyone stared. How could he, a Gandhi, be so easy to anger? Their eyes seemed to say. I dropped the rock and ran. Straight to grandfather's hut. Babuji, I cried. The same aide who'd whisked grandfather away earlier was there. What is it, Arun? Grandfather set down his pen, pushed aside his many papers. It was wrong to come here. Grandfather had work to do, important work. I backed up to leave, and grandfather bowed. Namaste, he said. Not to me, but to the aide, politely dismissing him. A moment later we were alone. Tell me what has you so upset, he said. I did. Out came what happened on the soccer field, getting pushed, the rock, everything. When I was done, my head throbbed. Grandfather didn't need to say it. I'd never live up to the Mahatma. I'd never be at peace. Do you think Suman and Kanu never anger? Or that they never think injustices happen solely to them? Grandfather wiped my tears. Do not be ashamed. We all feel anger. But that was impossible. Suman and Kanu maybe, but not grandfather. Even you, I asked. Even me, said grandfather. But grandfather taught peace. I'd never seen him angry, not even now when I told him what I'd almost done. Let us spin, he said, and he sat before one of 2 spindles. Grandfather wasn't fun for riddles, father had often told me, but he was one for stories. One was coming, I was sure of it. I held the thin cotton thread between my thumb and forefinger, not moving, as grandfather's fingers went to work. Have I not told you how anger is like electricity? I shook my head. It is. Anger can strike like lightning and split a living tree in 2, he said. I saw myself on the soccer field, rock in hand, ready to strike. I saw the movie cowboys and their guns. Or it can be channeled, transformed. A switch can be flipped, and it can shed light like a lamp.
I saw grandfather speaking before thousands. When grandfather was angry, he did not lash out. He worked to make changes, lasting changes for all, not just for himself. Then anger can illuminate. It can turn the darkness into light, grandfather said. That's what you do, I said quietly, sure I couldn't do the same. Aaron, we can all work to use our anger instead of letting it use us. Grandfather slowly stood. He beckoned me to him, and together we stood in the doorway of his hut looking out at everyone working as one. He hadn't told me I was foolish. He hadn't told me I was wrong and he was right. He hadn't even forced me to choose lightning or lamp. But I did choose, and I would choose over and over from that moment on, like grandfather. I did my best to live my life as light. How will you live? The end.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that story of Grandfather Gandhi. It's a beautiful story, and it's a good reminder that even the people that we see who look peaceful and we can't imagine them ever being angry, I promise, they get angry. They've just learned how to not necessarily control that anger, but use that anger. Use it in beautiful ways, because I really think we can. And they've learned to listen to that anger. When you're mad, when you're angry, try to notice why. Notice where you feel it and try to see, why is it that you're angry? Because I bet your body's trying to tell you something, your mind's trying to tell you something. And I bet if you figure out why you're angry, maybe we can make the world a better place. So I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. If you're watching this live, it's Friday. And I will see you all next week. Bye.